aware of that. It is so interesting. And I love the fact that animals feel fear and it goes away. That was like a brilliant switch that went off when I read that, because humans, we dwell on that fear. Not only does it stay with us for a while and influence our actions, cause us to do things, but we actually use it to write rules about the way we'll react to something the next time it happens.
Right.
So when we have this happen as a kid and we're afraid of, I don't know, not being seen,
Right.
it's like this little line that gets jotted, this line of code that gets jotted into your operating system shows up when you're a teenager, and then you really lean into athletics so that you get some attention, and since you're getting attention, you're using it to get women, and since you're getting women, it's making you feel good, so you get addicted to that, and then ... you're trying out for parts on NCIS Chicago in LA somewhere.
I didn't follow all that. That was pretty brilliant.
That's where I took it. That's where I took it.
Interesting.
Just because these little seeds get planted based on, my dad was never home, so it must mean that I'm not worth seeing. Well, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove that I'm worth seeing. Look at me, I'm on TV now. And your dad goes, why didn't you become a carpenter and do something useful? And then you're just, the rift is still there.
Right.
I can see that in a lot of people.
Yeah, I have an example in there that I used where, let's say you're a boy and your mother is kind of cold to you, right? Isn't as loving as you'd want. It's a bit narcissistic. And as a child, you experienced that as she was abandoning you. She wasn't giving you something that you wanted. And it created tremendous fear, like you were talking about in a 3-year-old, like an adrenaline rush of fear that you were about to be abandoned by the one person who can keep you safe in the world. And then you grow up with this person who carries that deep within, this continual fear of being abandoned by other people, right? And that motivates everything that you do. And then later you're in a relationship with a woman and she just says something with a sort of an edge of coldness, maybe she's in a bad mood, and you interpret it, she's about to abandon me. She's losing interest in me. And you overreact and you get emotional and you end up breaking up the relationship. You're not aware of all of these little hidden layers of things that are occurring inside of you. You're not aware of the source, that you are the one causing other people to flee you because you're afraid that they're going to abandon you. You have to abandon them first so you feel like you're in control. It becomes the pattern of your life. It's irrational, but you don't see it that way. You see, in that moment when she was acting cold, man, I'm the most rational person in the world. I'm anticipating her leaving me. What could be more rational than I realize she's going to abandon me and I'm going to break it off? But you don't realize that it's extremely irrational, that it comes from a very emotional place.
I used to work with somebody that was abandoned by the mother as a child. And what he would then do is try to control everyone around him, which drove us all crazy. And as soon as someone started doing what he didn't like, he would try to socially isolate them, not invite them to things, make them feel bad. And when that happened to everybody turn by turn, we just decided,
how did you know this about his childhood?
He told us eventually, yeah. And I never really put those two things together, but when I read The Laws of Human Nature, I went, this is what he's doing. He's trying to control people so they won't abandon him. He's forcing them to feel abandoned when they don't do what he wants because he knows that's what hurts the most, or at least in his world.
Right.
So then he uses that to control. But normal or healthier people, or people who don't have that programming, we don't respond well to that. We just go, this guy is a crazy ass.
Well, see, this is the process that I'm asking you to go through when you're reading this book. This is how I'm hoping the book will change you. You probably already thought this way to a degree. But normally you go through life reacting to what just people give you.
Right.
You see that boss who's a control freak, and you get emotional and you get sucked into all the drama, and you're continually responding to the appearances that people present, not realizing that something else is going on in their head behind the mask. And when you suddenly start to peel away the layers and understand what motivates people and see that at the root could be some childhood trauma or some other issue they're dealing with, suddenly it changes, right? You now have options. You now realize, I don't have to get emotional. Maybe this isn't somebody I want to work for. You have options in life, and that's the key to this game. Instead of always reacting to people in which you have no options, that's the only thing you can do is get angry or resentful or envious. I'm showing you, you can go one of 3 or 4 ways. You can cut that person out of your life. You can not take them personally and say, oh, that's just who they are, that's fine. you can find a way to kind of minimize the damage that they're doing by becoming strategic and taking certain actions to prevent them from harming you, on and on and on. You have options in life instead of always reacting emotionally.
I love the idea of resisting emotional pull. This is from the book as well. It's like resistance training. When you feel, I really want to do this with this person, or I'm really excited about this, or I really want to hire this person, maybe step back and resist it for a little while, because resisting our emotions is like lifting weights.
Yeah.
It gets easier after a while. It's so tempting in the moment to go,
Yeah.
no, we're good. This is great. I'm going to sign on the dotted line.
Right.
Let's get married in Vegas kind of thing. And then that resistance that you build, that ability to resist your emotions, is actually quite a good skill to have.
Yeah, I don't want to create a misconception that I suddenly think that I feel that emotions are bad.
Of course, yeah.
It would be ridiculous to say that, because our ability to think is interconnected with our emotions. Einstein discovers the theory of relativity because he's so excited and emotionally involved in solving this problem that he's able to think about it so for hour after hour. If you're not motivated and love something, you're not going to learn about it. Emotions play a very valuable part in our life. We are very rich, emotionally rich animals. People like to think that what separates us from a dog or a cat is that we think, but actually you could say what separates us from the dog or the cat is that we feel a range of 20, 30 emotions that they're not even able to think, to process. And that's what makes us human. So emotions aren't necessarily bad, but who is governing the ship? There's a metaphor I use in the rationality chapter of the rider on the horse. The horse is your emotions. It is more powerful. The horse is more powerful than the human animal. It's faster, it's stronger, it's more powerful. We are the rider on top of it. Is it the horse that's governing it, taking us everywhere we want without us controlling it at all, making us get into porn and going into video games and
That damn horse.
and dating the wrong people and making bad decisions? Or are we the rider that has the reins that can master that horse? Mastering that horse doesn't mean beating it to death and making it stand still. You want that horse to move. It's active, it's alive, it's powerful. Think of all the things that we've been able to do once we learned how to use horses, in war, etc. You want that animal to be able to move, but you want to be able to guide it. You want reins, you want a degree of control. You want to be a bit of a master of your emotions so you can use them.